If you missed last week's, we did the AFC and NFC West. So basically, if you're confused on divisions, the Niners division and the Chiefs division, we did those divisions, did those teams, and all our predictions. And for the one gentleman in the YouTube comment section, these are predictions. Predictions. Yes, obviously the Cardinals didn't sign T. Higgins. Congratulations. It's not March yet. But
I missed the comment. What was the comment?
a guy said on that video that got like almost 700 views, he said the Cardinals didn't, in all caps, not sign T. Higgins. Very misleading. Yeah, bro. That's their predictions.
All right, so my guy was scrolling YouTube and he saw your face up there with a little banner that said Cardinals signed T. Higgins, and he went out and he had a party in his backyard and he found out it wasn't true. Now he's fucking pissed at you. Like, hey, here I am on YouTube page 63 to find the 2020 podcast. No offense to us, we're growing. Hopefully we'll be there someday. Jacob keeps telling me we're going to go live on YouTube, and we haven't yet to build the following. But he sees that banner on our video and he got hella excited. And then he found out it wasn't true, and now he hates you.
Yeah, if I didn't have any ops, I got one now. All right, let's go and start out with the AFC, just like last time. We're going to start off in order, division winners going down. We'll start off with the Buffalo Bills, and how we're going to be doing this is we have a cut candidate, a re-signing that they should do, their biggest free agent target, and their a sleeper for that. For me, it's the same position, sleeper for most of them. A couple of them, they vary a little bit, but that's how it works here. Buffalo Bills, they have, get ready for this one, negative $58 million in effective cap space. And what's the worst thing about this is that's not even the least amount in this division. So you'll see who has the least here in a minute. So Buffalo Bills negative $58 million in cap. They're going to have to do a lot of work moving guys around, restructuring, extensions. They're going to have to do a lot of work to even get to the point where they could do anything. I'll go ahead and take this one first. You can have the first picks on the next one.
Yeah, this one's easy. Congratulations.
You want to take this one?
Well, I mean, Tre'Davious White is hurt and he makes a shit ton of money, so it's probably a foregone conclusion. But I think also Jordan Poyer, he's 34 years old this year. I think he makes $8 or $9 million. You probably have the stats right in front of you.
Yeah.
So I would say probably some cut candidates coming big time on that defense.
Yeah, and Von Miller. Von Miller, you would save $6.7 million.
I didn't even think about Von. That's obvious.
Yeah, those two guys were on my list. So Vaughn and Tre'Davious, $6 million, 6.7 in savings just from those two guys alone.
And probably Stephon too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so it's
not that he's a cut candidate; he's probably a trade candidate. But
yeah, his situation is going to be interesting to see how he gets moved around because Josh Allen commands so much money, and he's the big reason why they're in such this cap deficit right now. And you're going to have to end up moving pieces away from the defense, which happens when you pay your quarterback this much money. You're moving pieces away from the defense, so the defense is going to get hurt next year, or you're going to be replacing them with young players on cheap contracts or rookies. And the defense isn't going to perform as well as it did this year, and it still had its struggles. And then on top of that, you're going to be taking away, so no Gabe Davis. You're not going to re-sign him, which I don't think you should re-sign him. And you might be trading away Stephon Diggs. The Bills might be in trouble. The only thing that's going to be their saving grace is Josh Allen next year. So we'll see how that one goes.
Well, and they might be losing. I think their other safety is a free agent also. So if you're cutting
Micah Hyde, yeah,
Micah Hyde's a free agent, and then you got to cut Vaughn and maybe Tre'Davious White because let's be honest, he's making. He's a top flight corner in the league, so I'm guessing he's somewhere between 16 to 20 million, and he's hurt. It just. I don't know how the rules exactly work with cutting someone on an injury and how much that frees up. Most of these guys have injury designations in their contracts, but for the sake of this little video, quick thing, I'm not going to get into all that. So
right. Biggest re-sign candidates, who you got?
I don't know. I know you just said they're not going to do it, but if you trade away Stephon, do you let Gabe walk?
I'm not a huge Gabe Davis guy.
Come on, he had one great game.
Yeah. My guys are defensive tackles. I think you either got to go DaQuan Jones or Tim Settle. Daquan Jones is going to command a 1-year, $5.5 million contract, fully guaranteed. He's older, but he had a really good year. He got injured in a big portion of it, but when he was in there, I think he got like 3 sacks in the defensive tackle position. He came back for the playoffs, so he played well. So if you want to sign one of your older vets who's played well, he's sitting there again. You're not going to be signing a massive contract for anybody because you're even just trying to get to the starting line. And then Tim Settle, 2-year, $7.8 million, $3.7 million annually. So either one of those, but Tim Settle's a little bit younger. I think he's 26. He might be 27 by the start of the season. We talked about him a little bit last week. So either one of those guys, I'm comfortable with re-signing for sure.
Yeah, I'll throw Leonard Floyd out there just because if you're going to lose all that defensive talent, you got to have someone back there. He didn't make a ton of money this year. I think less than $10 million. Obviously, he's 33 or 34 years old. So going forward, he's not going to get a massive, number. So, but yeah. I think you're probably right.
Yeah. Biggest target's going to be a big money type guy. If you're going to be losing your wide receivers, if you can somehow, some way get a bunch of money freed up, and this is just not super realistic. First year cap hit's going to be $11 million. Contracts 3 years, $75 million. Wide receiver Mike Evans, again, both the Bucs and him are not close on contract negotiations. So if he decides to maybe go somewhere else and he wants to play for a contender and win another ring, maybe the Bills is somewhere he considers. You might want to consider the Chiefs a little bit more. But if they're swinging for the fences, a guy like Mike Evans, I think, fits into the offense pretty well because I think they draft a wide receiver. Brian Thomas Jr. is probably the favorite to go to Buffalo right now. That's a 6'4", real speedy wide receiver. And if you can add a big target and Mike Evans as well, you're not looking half bad on that offense at the very least.
Also, I mean, the Bills can't afford with the money they're paying Josh Allen to not be competitive year in and year out. So I feel like they're actually one of the legit big time teams to take a look at on a trade for a T. Higgins, a trade for a Brandon Ayuk, a trade for a Devontae Adams. I know the Raiders have said that they're not moving him, but he's making $30 million next year and he's like 33. So just penciling in the fact that they're going to keep him, I don't think we should do that at this point. So I know that's not a free agent signing per se, but it's still a big acquisition for them. So I think that the Bills are going to do whatever it takes to try to upgrade because when you're paying a quarterback $60 million a year, you don't get to come out and go, 7-10.
Yeah, no, that's true. Absolutely.
And that the AFC is. We talked about the NFC top end talent. The AFC has 5 teams next year: the Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals, and the Bills, and hell, the Texans at this point, from what it looks like. So you don't get to go backwards in an offseason when you're trying to compete in the AFC.
Absolutely. And my sleeper, smaller time free agent acquisition would be someone like KJ Osborne, who had a pretty good year. Each one of his years he's been in the league, he's been over like 750 yards, like 4 touchdowns. So he's been productive as a wide receiver 3 or a wide receiver 2 in the league. So 2 years, $10 million is really all he's roughly going to command. He's really young too, so that might be a place that they might want to look.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not gonna swing big in the trade market or a Mike Evans, there's a Michael Pittman Jr. out there that could potentially fill that type of wide receiver for Josh Allen scrambling around and hucking it deep. Yeah, I really like that idea of that type of wide receiver for him, though. Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, that type of guy that you can kind of just go get it type player for Josh Allen because he's not exactly known for being the most precise passer. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Now moving on to the Miami Dolphins, I said that the Buffalo Bills did not have the least amount of cap space. It's the Miami Dolphins. They have an amazing amount of effective cap space of negative $59 million.
Let's go. Get it done.
Negative $59 million in effective cap space. So again, another team that's going to have to move guys around, cut candidates, extensions, restructures. They're going to be on that block. You're going to see a lot of money be moved around. If you blink, you're going to miss it. So look out for it. Who's your cut candidate for this team, or cut candidates for this team?
I would say probably Jerome Baker at linebacker. $13 million is way too much money to be paying a linebacker that's not named Fred Warner. or not racking up 20 sacks, 15 to 20 sacks a season. But
Right.
actually, I mean, they got a couple guys on that defense that are being paid a lot of money. But I won't steal your thunder.
Emmanuel Ogba, I think is big one, 15.7 million in savings. You could definitely take a look at cutting Xavier Howard, who has taken a big step back in the recent time, 18.5 million in savings there. I mean, they have guys, unlike with the Bills, if you look at the Bills and you see, I mean, we had Von Miller and Tre'Davious White with 6.7 and 6 million. You know, we bring up Xavier Howard and Emmanuel Ogba, who's 18.5 and 15.7, and
Right.
Jerome Baker with 13 million. So these are big names you can cut. You can cut a couple of guys, and you could be right there at the cap and restructure. And you're all of a sudden you have a couple of $1 million in cap space that you could really work with to bring back some guys, because they have young players that they're going to want to re-sign, and it's going to suck to let these guys go. So on the re-signing for me, I think you have to go. There's one or two options here. I'll take one of them. Connor Williams, 5 years, $67.6 million, $13.5 million a year, $42 million in guarantees. His first year cap hit is going to be somewhere around the $6.2 million range. So, that center position is going to be super important from him. You don't want to let that go, especially a guy like Connor who has transitioned from guard to center, and he's done a really good job at it. One of the elite guys playing center this year, so that's one place you want to go for a re-signing.
Was he hurt this year?
Connor?
Yeah.
No,
Oh. Okay.
no. Connor's been healthy.
I guess I don't know. Christian Wilkins or maybe Deshaun Elliott. Both are still young.
Yeah,
It's hard to say with the money though. So what's Christian Wilkins? Do you have it up? What his
yeah,
estimated
that was the
contract
other
is going to
guy.
be?
Yeah, so Christian Wilkins is a 4-year, $92 million contract, $23 million a year, $50 million in guarantees. First year cap hit is going to be, actually his first year cap hit is 6.2. Connor Williams is 8 million. Sorry, I got a lot of numbers in front of me. So a little bit lower first year cap hit, but overall he's going to make a lot more money. But yeah, that's probably what he's going to end up commanding, especially with his age and level of play. And a guy who is very likable in the locker room, mic'd up legend at this point.
You're going to have to do a lot of gymnastics to be able to sign that contract.
Yeah, that one or Connor Williams contract. I mean, again, those are two really young guys that you're gonna want to sign. You know, if you're able to do it, they're gonna have a hard time at the end of the day. Biggest targets for free agency, they do have an issue at the cornerback position. Obviously, they have Jalen Ramsey. Again, Xavier Howard has taken a step back. He's not worth that $18.5 million. He's making a little bit more than that. That's his savings, excuse me. So if you're going to take a big swing at a big target, I think you're going to go look for a Kendall Fuller, the only bright spot in Washington. 3 years, $42 million, $14 million annually, 17.75 in guarantees. First year cap hit, 5.5 million. I think that's kind of where you want to look in the corner position, at least. They have a couple positions to look at, but that's definitely one they want to look at.
Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed, a free agent this year, definitely a possibility. But I think with their cap situation, somebody like Kella Witherspoon played for the Rams this year.
Okay. Yeah.
Played over 90% of the snaps for the Rams. He was a really good player. The 49ers drafted him. He does his job well. He's not a number one guy or anything like that, but he's not getting paid number one money, and played over 90% of the snaps this year. So when you're trying to build back a team that's losing a lot, you can't be overpaying certain players at certain positions. Akella Witherspoon, I think, makes a lot of sense for them.
Yep.
If he's interested in going. The thing about the Miami Dolphins is they're running a completely different defense this year because they lost Lord Fangio. So
Right.
what they might do on defense over there is anybody's guess.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. My sleeper was Steven Nelson. So another smaller time corner, 1 year, $7 million, fully guaranteed contract is.
Where was he at this year? The Colts?
Steven Nelson is Houston.
Houston. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So again, smaller time cornerback acquisition. I like Drew's suggestion as well with Witherspoon.
The Colts was Kenny Moore. I like the idea of Kenny Moore.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm at the corner position. No team has two corners except for the Cowboys. No team has two corners for the most part that you can pay. So when you're looking to add a second corner, a second guy or a third guy, I really like looking at the amount of snaps that players played in previous
Hmm.
seasons. Because if you're going to invest a little bit of coin in a second cornerback, I can't have a guy that's only on the field 60% of the snaps. And
Yeah, for
most of the
sure.
time, I'm not. I'm just talking about. I'm not even talking about injury at that point. I'm saying if you're in base defenses, defenses, nickel defenses, quarters defenses, I need you out there. I need you to be able to play, whether you move inside or you stay outside, whatever. I
Yeah.
need you. If I'm going to pay you as a second corner, I need you to fill more than one spot.
I can't have you be scheme reliant or what we're
No,
playing. Yeah. No, I'm on board with that one for sure. Moving on, third place, the biggest disappointment of the year because of a blown out Achilles. The New York Jets, negative $2 million in cap space, but they do have some guys that they can for sure move around. I'm going to go ahead and take Laken Tomlinson. You could save $13 million by cutting him. He didn't play super well this past season, so you could probably move off of him. Who you got?
he's also Laken Tomlinson, 49ers legend. He's got to be 33 at
Yeah,
this
I believe
point.
so. Yeah, I think 33, 34.
I think there's a couple players on their defense that are making a lot of money. But CJ Uzuma, their tight end, I think
Yeah.
he's in his early 30s and he's making I think he's making almost $10 million. I'm sure you have it in front of you, but I'm not paying a tight end $10 million when you're 31 and you're not doing anything. There's also another guy on their defense. Do you have another candidate written down? Written down?
John Franklin Myers.
But my thing with him is I know he makes decent money, but he's like 27. So it's
Hmm.
like if we're gonna cut guys, let's cut Laken Tomlinson who's 32. We can replace a guard. Matter of fact, paying a guard in the first place was stupid, but they
Hmm.
did it. Paying a tight end $9 million for no production is a lot of money. I keep a young defensive player that is gonna be a part of a team going forward. I think, but also I'm imagining he's making what's he making 14 million.
You're talking about John Franklin Myers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it saved 13.99. Yeah, it's weird because the Jets have like a deep rotation of edge rushers, um, but it doesn't feel like they have like the big standout, right? Bryce Huff is going to be a free agent. They have John Franklin Myers, and then they have who's the kid that they drafted a couple of years ago.
Zach Wilson.
No, no, not him. Edge rusher. Oh man, I really liked him coming out too. That's gonna bug me.
You'll
I'm
find
gonna
it.
I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna bug me. Yeah, so they have I know that they have a deep edge rusher kind of rotation. Jermaine Johnson, that's what it was. They have Jermaine Johnson, and then they have Will McDonald that they just drafted. Carl Lawson, I believe, is going to be a free agent as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they have like this deep rotation of edge rushers, you know. And again, John Franklin Myers, Bryce Huff, but the only one I think that really reached that digit sacks was Bryce Huff, you know, and he's super young as well. So the thing is when you're looking at, are you going to cut John Franklin Myers to turn around and re-sign Bryce Huff? You know, they're both around roughly the same age. So whose production are you really kind of gambling on? Because John Franklin Myers has only had 3.5 sacks this year, while Bryce Huff had 10. But this is also the only good year Bryce Huff has had, and it's a contract year. So again, you're kind of taking a gamble on that one. So those are the couple of names that I had. Again, Laken Tomlinson, John Franklin Myers, that you could potentially move off of.
Who's your reside candidate?
I have Jordan Whitehead.
I
Yeah, 3 years, 24 million, $8 million a year, $10 million in guarantees. First year cap hit being 3.6 million.
super young, over 90% of the snaps last year.
Yeah,
I guess another option is probably Mackay, but
no way. I don't know if you'd bring a guy like that back.
I'm just what do you have to pay him?
probably nothing. But man, just like if you want to pay him anything, he's just so injury prone. I feel like teams get, especially when a high draft pick doesn't work out, teams get such a bad taste in their mouth that they don't want to re-sign them because it's just like, oh, you burned us. We used the 10th overall pick on you, and you're not what we expected you to be. Which, sure, yeah, for that size, he was supposed to be incredibly productive. You were banking on the size, and it didn't work out.
Well, you figured Dwayne Brown's retiring. You want them to cut Lincoln, and Mekhi Becton is walking, and their offensive line was already terrible last year. You're bringing Aaron Rodgers back behind a patchwork. I mean, I think continue like, yeah, you're probably right. But 25-year-old tackles don't hit free agency too often.
Yeah,
How many? It's 25, 26.
26. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the one bright spot that they end up having is that their guard, Elijah Vera Tucker, was really the only bright spot on that line. He's been pretty damn productive. And he's been pretty good. I mean, if you're looking at,
I would take Mekhi. He's got to be better than Colton McKivitz. So
yeah, it's if he could stay healthy. Sure, if they're gonna do it, then yeah. Honestly, if you're looking for a free agent target to kind of target, let's be honest, the Jets are a short-term Super Bowl window, and that's all they're looking for. They're banking on everything for just a couple of years. And if you're doing that, then maybe you want to take a look at a guy like Tyron Smith, for free agent coming out of Dallas, super productive when he's healthy. I think he only missed 2 games this year, which has been a
a
lot better than the
miracle.
past. But when he plays, he's up there with the best. The whole offensive line as a whole was graded better when Tyron was playing. So take a look at a guy like that because at left tackle you're going to need some help, and maybe getting a mainstay who's been in the league for a while is somewhere you're going to want to look. Graham Glasgow, guard for Detroit, is another one. Just offensive line in general, protecting Aaron Rodgers is going to be big.
How do you feel about Jonah Williams?
I like it. I think I'm okay with that.
100% of the snaps this year. When you're talking about a player like Mekhi, who had nothing but injuries, and you're talking about a player like Aaron, where you need people to stay healthy, 100% of the snaps this year, which of course means
Yeah.
they'll sign him, and in week 2 he'll blow his ACL out. But still, for the purposes, and young tackles don't hit the free agents market too often. That's why we started some dude named Colt McKivitz this year, because they don't grow on trees. Unless cancer grows on top of their head and they demand out of their organization will only play for the 49ers, then you get Trent Williams. But besides that, I mean, it's not a position that has a ton of free agent talent every year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where the Jets are really going to target in the draft. Obviously, Talisi Fuaga is going to be is like the number one name linked to them right now. Just one of the tackles, top 3 tackles right now is who's being linked to them in the draft. This isn't their draft portion, but we're talking about offensive line. That's probably where they're going at 10, most likely. Almost like they need to go there at 10. So, and I like Talisi Fuaga a lot. So, yeah, I think that's where the Jets go. And then last, and yes, certainly least, the New England Patriots. Look at this cap space. Not only cap space, this second most amount in the league, $60 million in effective cap space. And on top of that, they should have some more cap space after cutting some guys. So who's a cut candidate for you?
I would consider it he won't be on the team candidate because I think they could trade him, but I think you could probably move off of Judon and save a lot of money and maybe I think you could still get like a third for Judon, don't you think? I mean, I know he's a little bit older, but
He's still productive, right?
he's a productive player. They also have Jonathan Jones. He's not, I'm not trying to do too many here, but again, corners that are in their early 30s that make more than $10 million, or not 100% sure what he makes, but he has to make right around that. And he didn't stay on the field too much last year. Not where I'm investing my money.
And I got J.C. Jackson. You're going to be able to cut him, and you move $14.3 million off immediately. But this honestly wouldn't be super surprising if this was like a cut and immediately re-sign type deal, or re-sign later on type situation for a lot less money. But it kind of depends on what JC really wants. But yeah, the $14.3 million, you would have no dead money cutting him, and a lot has to do with trading back for him. So $60 million, and then you can add additional almost $15 million on top of that. You're starting off pretty good for your free agents. Excuse me, your free agent period, which if you look at this roster, it has to be one of the worst rosters in the league. You just have mediocre crap all around the roster. It just sucks, dude. I mean, there's what blue chip prospect do you have on this team? You Christian Gonzalez?
Kyle Duggar's a good safety.
Yeah, he's a free agent. I mean,
Well, yeah, that he's my got to bring him back. Except
yeah.
for Zeke. Sign that man.
Yeah, with Kyle Duggar, you're looking at 3 years, $40.5 million, $13.5 million annually, $25 million in guarantees, with a first year cap at $7 million. I agree with you there. I think the other one that they could take a look at is Josh Uche, 1 year, $8.5 million, $4.5 million in guarantees. I really don't think that that's too much to ask for when you're talking about almost a Band-Aid for your defense and your pass rush. Hey, we're going to sign you for a year. You're probably not going to stick around. We're going to get better on the defensive line next year. But
The
here's just for
Patriots,
temporary.
the Patriots should do this smart. I mean, if they're gonna, let's say they sign Kyle Duggar, I would give him like 4 or 5 years, front load the fuck out of that contract because your starting quarterback not going to make any money, and then have his
Yeah.
cap hits trail off. I know NFL teams don't like to do that in these days, but if you
Right.
got a quarterback on a rookie contract, front load everything. Anything
Yep.
the Texans do this year, pay them all the money in year 1 and year 2. That way, they're on value in 3 and 4 and 5 when you have to pay
Yep.
CJ. So.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I spoiled it, but I also think that I'm a personal big fan of Hunter Henry. I know he hasn't done a ton in his career, but when you have a rookie quarterback, you have to have reliable wide receivers and tight ends, escape routes. Same
Yeah,
thing
for sure.
with, I would also take a look at maybe potentially bringing Kendrick Bourne back because that dude's automatic on third down. He was Mr. Third Down for the 49ers. He was the Juwan Jennings before Juwan Jennings for us. And you just have to bring something reliable. They got a decent little running back out there. You just have to have a couple, especially if they go with who I think they're going with at number 3. You have to have those safety blankets.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Biggest target in free agency. So far we've done 2 divisions, right? This is our second division for free agency, and I don't have this guy going anywhere else because he's going to command a ton of money, and it's hard to place him in a lot of places. Justin Matabuke, 4 years, $97 million, $24.25 million annually, $62.5 million in guarantees. First year cap hit, $13 million. So you're looking at a premier guy on the line. He was always solid before this year, but then he absolutely exploded. And honestly, I don't know if he's actually going to hit the market. He's probably going to get into franchise tag most likely if they can't come to a deal, because I believe that's probably going to be the Ravens' biggest re-sign candidate. We're not at that point yet, but he's probably there. But 13 sacks from the defensive tackle position is Aaron Donald like. So he's going to command a lot.
I know we've already mentioned him, but I really like the idea of the Patriots rebuilding this thing defense first. And so if they went out and got like a Kendall Fuller to pair with Christian Gonzalez, and then you bring back Kyle Duggar, and then maybe you keep Judon, maybe you don't, you start to see the pieces. DJ Reader also. I mean, I kind of like the idea of both of them, to be honest with you. And then you got your safety, 2 corners, you got an interior defensive lineman, you got a pass rusher and Judon, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, the Patriots defense is going to be okay. Now we got to figure out what we're doing on the offense. I don't think you have to bring in some stud wide receiver. I don't think you have to go after Mike Evans or anything like that. I think that you can make it work with the right pieces, kind of like what the Texans did this year. It just kind of depends on obviously what they do at number 3.
Yeah, and if you look at the draft too, I mean, we're talking about deep edge rusher class. So I think you can kind of get in that well. Same thing with the wide receivers. I think you look at the tiers of wide receivers and you're okay with, going to get a wide receiver and excuse me, the edge rushers in the second and third rounds. I think you feel comfortable with it. Guys like Darius Robinson, Chop Robinson, Adisa Isaac are going to be there in the second.
Chop. I love Chop.
So those guys are going to be sitting there and they're going to be ready. Darius, he might not be there. He's flying up the boards. So at the end of the day, there's guys there. And again, with wide receivers, you're going to get guys if you're looking for it in a second. Why am I blanking? There's Troy Franklin, Lad McConkey. There's going to be guys there. A.D. Mitchell. So he's one of my favorites from the draft. If he goes to a place like the Patriots, Patriots fans should be excited because he's one of my favorites.
And just a small note for Patriots fans, I'm personally okay if you guys suck. Just so you guys know, I'm not here to help you guys rebuild. You guys can suck
for a little bit.
Yeah, why not? It's okay. I mean, I know you guys are probably all going out and buying Chiefs jerseys anyway, but it's okay if you suck for a little bit.